Good evening. Welcome everyone to Jerry's cooking class. This is an exciting event, which is a preparatory event for our Shabbat Across America at home. So please go to the Sephardic Temple website for more information on Shabbat Across America at home, as well as other events sponsored by the temple. So we bring you to the home of Jerry and Evelyn Hattem for this exciting cooking class. Please take it away, Jerry.
Okay, hi everybody, welcome. This brings back a lot of memories because even though it's only Wednesday, Nonna and my mother would bake on Thursday because Friday was a cooking day for Shabbat. So Thursday night was baking night. If you all saw the recipe that the temple sent, it starts off with a cup of water and a cup of oil, and you could do it in any dimension you want, as long as it's 1-to-1. It could be a half to a half, 2-to-2, but that's what it is. So I've already boiled the oil and the water, and I'm pouring it in. Now I'm using the KitchenAid. Of course, Nonna, my mother, did not have KitchenAids. They did it by hand, but it's easier for me this way. To the oil and water, I'm going to add, it's a half a teaspoon of salt, and there's a teaspoon of vinegar. The vinegar is to make the dough crispy. And I never really believed it, but it's true. Okay, so now this is all being mixed together for a few minutes. And to this, I'm going to start adding the flour. It's basically 3 to 5 cups, depending on how much, what the weather is to take it. So I'll do one at a time. So this is 1. Now remember, this can be done by hand if necessary. 2. 3. You can add an egg if you want. My mother and grandmother did. It just makes it a richer dough. As you'll see, kind of a firm dough. Okay. This is here. As you can see, it's a soft dough. It may need a little more flour as we go along, but as long as your finger could go in and comes out clean, that's my mother's way of telling me that the dough is ready. Okay. Usually,
Jerry,
yes?
will you entertain a question? We have a question from Shirley.
Okay.
Yes, my question is this. Why do you heat the water and the oil? What is the reason behind that?
Oh, well, it's always water. It's water and oil. It makes the dough. You don't have to boil it. You can use cold water, very cold water, with the oil. But this was my Nona's recipe, and he did it. I do it. It works. It works. That's the only thing I can say. I really don't know the technique, the reasoning behind it, but I guess it worked for hundreds of years, and they brought it from Turkey. So, okay, so now I'm going to put this aside because we're going to make the gomu, or the stuffing. I'll put that in here. And okay. Tonight we're making the spinach with the feta. It was a 1 pound bag of frozen spinach, which of course was defrosted, and I squeezed out all the water, so it's kind of dry. To that, I'm adding about 7-8 ounces of feta cheese, which I crumbled. So that goes in here. And I also add, it's 1 package of the farmer cheese, which nowadays is about 7.5 inches.
Ounces.
Ounces. What? Okay. Got this. This I will mix together. The hands are always the best. And I will then add an egg or two, depending on the consistency. You don't want it too loose, and you don't want it too dry. Okay. And you mix this together. Because now without the liquid, it's a little tough, so to speak, but it will loosen up. It needs a second. People who have made Bourekas, they may have their own family recipe. Each one could be a little different. But like I said, this has worked, and we don't change if it ain't broken. Okay. So now we have a very good, at least I think it's a good consistency. It's moist. This is to the side. Okay. Now, I'm going to take a piece of dough, and we're going to flatten it. Now again, you could just flatten it, roll it into a circle, maybe, I don't know, maybe 3-4 inches. Not too thick, but again, not too thin. that you can tell by hand. I do have something to make a circle. You can use a cup, you can use a plate, you could anything, or you could just free form it. Here's your circle, and I would take approximately a tablespoon of the filling, put it in the center, and you're going to fold it over. It'll create like a half moon, a crescent shape. And if you take your fork, you can make tines at the end. That's what it looks like. And I do have a tray. And we'll put that here. Now, of course, I am a little nuts. I prefer things to be a little more uniform. So again, I will take that same piece of dough, flatten it out. I will roll it some. But now I'll use now this is a mold. And I think they come out nice shapely. And that's my little craziness. I put it in the mold, take the same tablespoon of filling, fold it over, it seals it. And when I open it, voila. It's a nicely shaped one. We'll do another. And as you're working, you will get the feel of it if you know if it's too much dough, too little dough, if it's too thick, too thin. And sometimes I will make the spinach filling, I'll make the balls ahead of time. So I will just line them up, let's say 10, and they're just ready. I just, as I make the, the Bourekas, the filling is there already. Do 2 or 3 more.
Can you discuss the other ingredients you can put inside?
Oh, now, spinach is only one of the fillings that we make. We make a potato, an onion, which is very good. And you saute the onions, you like caramelize them, and you add it to the mashed potato, basically. And I use fresh potatoes for that. And that's very good. On the holidays, I may make one calabaza. I'll make it with pumpkin and sweet potatoes. It's sweet. I usually do that for Rosh Hashanah. But if you have things in the refrigerator that you don't want to waste, we have something called chandrajus. Chandrajus is a Turkish word for rags. And what our grandparents used that for when they were baking was whatever they had in the refrigerator, if they didn't want it to go to waste, so they would use a zucchini or a tomato, an eggplant, onions, and they would make a mixture. They would mix it with a little cheese, and they made a Boureka, like a vegetable Boureka. But they called it chandrajus. Okay.
Wow.
There we go.
No one's hearing me.
Once you get started, it really moves quite quickly.
Jerry,
Yes.
speak more loud.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. And here we go, we'll make another. And now, of course, there are different size molds that you can get. Sometimes they have smaller ones. I don't know if they have any larger. I think this is the largest. But if you wanted to make smaller ones, if you just only wanted to make them to serve with, let's say, instead of a cookie, you want to have it with coffee. So you would put 2 or 3 little ones out instead of one big one. It was always a staple in Nana's house, that's for sure. Here we go. And we'll make one more before we'll put the egg wash on. And then it goes into an oven. It's a 350-degree oven for approximately 40 minutes. I usually put it in the middle shelf for 25 minutes. Then I turn the tray around and I'll put it for another 10 or 15 minutes. Every oven is a little different, so you have to know your oven, because we've had experience, maybe not with Bourekas, but with bizcochos, where I had it on, but it must have been a little higher fire. Well, we burnt the whole batch. So we know from experience. Okay, let's do another. There we go. And this one will, I showed before. We'll do it freehand. I'll make the circle. With our circle, we'll get our spinach. And this is one of the favorite within the whole family. My cousins, when they would come, or I would go there, if I was making it, this would be their preferred stuffing as compared to all the others. Okay, we'll fold this over. Close it with the fork. Okay. That's the freehand style. So here you can see what they look like. Now I will get an egg for an egg wash. Now, if my grandchildren were here, the older one helps me with the dough, and the little one, my little Gabby, she became the painter. And she takes this very seriously, and she's very careful when she's putting the egg wash on, but we told her it's a painting job. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Of course, I usually make a complete tray when I'm doing it, but because no one's gonna stand here for 40 minutes until I make them. We will take this, I will now put it in the oven at a 350-degree oven. I told you, first for 25 minutes. I will then open it, turn the tray around, and 10 to 15 minutes more, depending on the oven. And this is what it looks like when it's done. As you can see, it has nice color. And I usually put it on parchment paper because it's less cleanup, less work. I just take it and throw it away. But I have used the silk hats in the past, but you do have to clean them off. And that's what they are. I then keep them. Usually I don't like to freeze them, but there are loads of people who are willing to accept care packages. So they don't go to waste. We'll put them in the refrigerator, and we'll have them a few days. I eat it, I eat it because this is how I was raised, either with yogurt or with sour cream and a hard-boiled egg. That was a normal meal after coming home from shul on Shabbat. And Nona used to make bourekas, which are the pastries that are round. They look like a snail. Unfortunately, I never mastered that technique. It's quite difficult and there's an art to it, but I keep on trying. Okay, that's the Bourekas recipe and how we do it. And if there are any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Otherwise, we're not going to wait 40 minutes for the Bourekas to come out of the oven. But if you've been following along with me, maybe you'll finish them and you'll call me if you have any questions. Okay, everybody. Any questions?
Okay, Nina?
Jerry, do you flip them or you just turn the tray around? You don't flip the Boureka, do you?
No. You don't flip them. You just turn the tray around and you have to really look at the bottoms. And if, when they're coming out of the oven, and if, they're like this, if they're like baked, it's fine. If it's too raw, you let it stay, a few minutes more. Each oven is a little different.
Right.
But when they come out, you have to let them rest because the dough is going to be soft.
Mm-hmm.
And if you touch them, you could puncture them. We've had experience with that. I'm not going to mention who, but we've had experience with that.
I like them burning hot.
So that's that question. Okay. Anything else? Yes?
Shirley, did you have a question again? Shirley? No.
Sorry. No, I don't right now. I think I know where we're going with this.
Okay. Anybody else? I can't see everybody. Oh, Patty has a question.
Hi, Jerry. It's Patty Renton.
Hi.
Hi there. What kind of oil do you use? Is it vegetable or canola?
Used vegetable oil.
Okay.
I usually use Wesson. But I've never used, I've never used olive oil. It was never part of the
You have it.
recipes. And when I put the vinegar in, I use regular. It's a teaspoon of regular white distilled vinegar. It's not a fancy vinegar.
Mm-hmm.
It does do the trick. It does come out a little crunchy, and you want them to be too soft.
Interesting.
Okay.
Cycle through. Is there anybody else? Leah?
Okay.
Oh, no, yeah, ask.
Okay, Jerry?
Yes.
Hi, where can you buy the mold that you used, and what do we call it when we ask for it?
If you go online, just put in dumpling maker, DUMPLING, dumpling maker. They're on Amazon. Sometimes they come in sets of 3. They make them in metal, which I have. They also make them in plastic. And they come in different sizes. Now, I've used the smaller sizes when I want to make some of the sweets. I'll make Bourekas de Muez. That's almost like an individual baklava. It's the nut stuffing, but it's in basically the dough that I made, but we add sugar to the dough, so it's a little sweet. And then, of course, they are dipped in a syrup, which is delicious. You can't just eat one. That's the problem. But they do come on Amazon. Sometimes it's, like I said, in 3, or you could buy one, or sometimes they call pierogi makers. I have a which I love. They call it a pierogi maker. They're very small Bourekas, but you can make anywhere between 4 to 6 at a time. You're stretching out the dough almost like the size of the board, and you're putting it on this filler, which I have. I can show you.
Wash up the dishes here, move them to the drain rack.
This is what it's called, a pierogi maker. And it is. Oh, I can show you. We have the time. I would take a piece of dough. Of course, Norna would say I'm cheating, but we have that. Roll this out. Sometimes the dough is like a little springy, it keeps on coming back. If you put a little flour on top and roll it out, it calms itself down. Okay. So this is the mold. To lay this out, I'll just do 4. There's room for 6. So now I would take a little less, not a tablespoon, and you put them into each of the crevices. And now you would take a second piece of dough and you would roll it out. And you would place this over the spinach filling. Touch. You press them down. And again, I cheat. I take the rolling pin because there were serrated edges on this. Okay. And if you flip them, They're like minis. But they're perfect to go with a cup of coffee. And of course, you put the egg wash on, and again, it's again for the approximately the 40 minutes, depending on your oven, how you do it. And this does save time. And here you go. So now I got 4, which I'll add to the other tray, and we'll bake them.
Okay, Sultana has a question now.
Yeah,
Excuse
I
me?
wanted to know, yeah, hi, Jerry, hi.
Hi.
I wanted to know if you have to insert the knife to see if they are cooked.
No,
No,
You
no,
don't have to insert the knife
no.
to see if they are
Um,
cooked.
After, the 35, 40 minutes, they're done. They're done.
Okay.
And remember, if you don't, you're not gonna eat them all that day, so you are gonna heat them up again. So, it's fine. You don't have to worry about
Okay.
it. Okay.
Looking to see if there are any other questions. You can use the reaction tab to raise your hand. Greta and Rich have a question. You have to unmute yourself.
Well, we
Yeah.
are okay, but what a great job you're doing, Jerry. This is amazing. We don't have any questions, but we just want to say how great a job you do.
Steve, we can't hear.
I think they were just giving you a Hazaku Baruch.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, Arlene has a question.
Jerry, hi, it's Arlene. How many Bourekas does the recipe make?
Okay. If you make them this size, maybe you'll get, let's say, about 18, maybe 20, depending. And it depends how much you stuff them. Making them like this, you could maybe get 24, because you're using not a tablespoon of the filling, you're using more like a teaspoon. So, and each of these are, as you can see, quite different in the size. So you're not using as much dough, so it'll be stretching out much more. Okay, I hope that answered that question.
I see Dr. Benvenisti and Terry.
Hey, Jerry,
Yeah.
that was great. I really appreciated that.
Oh,
I worked very hard to get
it's my
this
pleasure.
I have a question. Why are you holding out on the potato filling recipe?
I can't hear.
Why are you holding out on the potato recipe, Phil?
Oh, because remember, when I'm doing this now for you here, I had to make a batch in the afternoon to show you what the finished product is. If I would have made the potato tonight, we would be here forever. So
I thought it was
that's
one
the
of those.
only reason, I made the spinach because that's my favorite. And since I didn't have any, why not make it? But I'll be happy to show you how to make it. It's
I thought it was maybe one of those I'll tell you, but I'll have to kill you things.
No.
Okay.
At this point, I'm really quite pleased that people are still interested in, because this is tradition. This is something family, in Sephardic households, baking Bourekas and Bourekas and things of that nature. That was a staple, and that was a normal thing every week. It wasn't like once in a blue moon. Nowadays for us it is, because there's so many more different kinds of foods we can have. And when we were working, there wasn't time for this. Our grandparents, Nonna was home. My mother was home. That's what they did. But today, a lot of women are working and they don't have the time for this. This does take time. As you can see, and I only did a short portion, but look how much I still have left. I have a lot of work to do once we get off the video, because this can't go to waste. And I'm sure I'll have plenty of people to give care packages to, because I can't eat them all.
Okay, Adrian has a question. She has to unmute herself.
Okay, I don't hear I can't
There
hear.
you go.
Oh,
Can you hear me?
yes, I can hear you, Adrian.
Jerry, what if I wanted to make apples into the Bourekas? How do you do that?
Fine, same thing. Well, if you want to do it the easy way, you could buy Comstock apple pie filling and just put, a teaspoon of it in the dough. But that would be a sweet, that's more of a sweet.
Right.
So you could use the same exact dough. You're using an apple filling. If you wanted, you then could make a simple syrup of sugar and water, maybe with a little lemon or orange in it, and you could pour it over it.
You never did.
No, when I've made the Bourekas de Muez, yes, I would boil the syrup and I would throw them in and then take them out. The problem with that, at least I found, was they become very sticky. So when I want to make that, I would put them on a rack and I would pour the syrup over it so the bottoms don't get sticky.
Oh, I thought maybe I would cut up some apples very fine.
You could do that.
You could do that, and then you put a little
apples and put a cinnamon and sugar, put it together, and just mix it up. It's like you're making an apple pie filling.
Right. Okay, that's what I wanted to know.
Right.
Yeah.
You have to cook it first.
What did you say?
And you can use that with anything, with any kind of fruit, any pie filling that you may want to buy. Like Comstock makes, blueberry, cherry, apple, or if you want to make your own, that's fine too.
Jerry, do I cook the apples first?
I would think.
I guess you can. I don't know. I've never done it. Trial and error. But if you put in just a raw apple in small little pieces, like when you make an apple pie, you don't cook the apples before you make an apple pie.
No, I don't cook that. No, because I used
So
to
it'd be
make
the same
apple
thing,
pies.
like making miniatures now.
What?
You're making a miniature version of an apple pie,
right?
In the shape of a bureka.
So I would just cut up the apples. Really.
I have another question.
Yes.
Do you put oil on the parchment paper, or you don't need oil?
No oil on the parchment paper.
Okay.
The parchment paper is a miracle. It's a wonderful, wonderful piece of paper to bake with because it doesn't burn. And when you're finished, you just wrap it up and you throw it away.
Thank you.
Okay.
Don't see any more hands. The Denenbergs.
Okay.
The Benvenistis again.
Okay. Yes.
There we go.
Two things. Adrian, what you asked about the apple Bourekas, before COVID, when we used to have the sukkah and we had the Bourekas, we would have the apple Bourekas as a Boureka and everybody loved them. It was almost like an apple turnover, but people were very happy with it. That's number one. Number two, Jerry, you were talking, Jerry, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, you were talking about the little cookies with the nuts. Are those the ones that you made for Alex Cohn's party?
No, that was muslachudus. Muslachudus is without any dough. That is a mixture of any kind of nuts. Basically, I use walnuts with almonds or walnuts with pecans with cinnamon, sugar, and honey, and a drop of cloves. And you add an egg white. Not the whole egg, just the egg white. And that's the liquid to hold things together. And again, I like things to be uniform. You can just make a little ball, but I use a melon baller because I like things the same size.
And if you remember, they were fantastic and they disappeared immediately.
Yes, well, they disappeared because people told me they were bringing it to the table, but I think it disappeared in their chanta.
I think so.
Maybe we'll have that as your next cooking class.
Okay, it'll be my pleasure.
And certainly the apricot confections.
Well, the apricot candy is a little more difficult to make. You really have to see it. You have to do it on the video. It wouldn't do it justice. You'd have to really see me do it because the first time I did it, I had spoken to my And I think every 10 minutes, I said, Aunt Vicky, you told me 10 minutes, it's not working. And it wasn't the right consistency. And when I finally got it, it was too loose and it was rolling all over the place.
It's labor intensive.
Yes, but they're delicious.
All right, maybe the mustachitos. Alice had her hand raised.
Yes.
Alice, you have to unmute yourself. Alice Lane.
Oh, Alice is there. Hi,
Yeah.
Alice. Hope you're doing well.
She's not unmuting. So we'll go to Susan. You had your hand up. Susan Casuto? No? Okay. She's just waving. Yeah, there we go. Alice is on.
No, I'm just gonna say I just wanted to watch Jerry. He always brings me pleasure, and I don't cook anymore.
Okay, well,
Thank you
I
for
told
being
you,
with us.
Alice, when we come up to visit, we're baking. Just
Well,
get
of
ready.
course we will. Either that or you bring the stuff. I'll eat.
I'll bring it all. That's not the problem. That's not the problem.
Thank you, sweetheart. You're
Okay.
you're welcome here anytime.
Okay.
All right. So thank you very much for joining us this evening. And we hope that you'll be able to make some excellent treats for your Shabbat Across America experience. So please go to the website for more information about Shabbat Across America at home. We thank Jerry for inviting us into his kitchen and to Evelyn. Have a great evening.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night. I hope you enjoyed. Bye
This will be
now.
posted to the website and to the YouTube channel, so you can let your friends know if they weren't able to join us this
Yes,
evening.
well, I
Have a
want
great
to
night.
notify the family in Europe because they couldn't watch it now. It's like 3 o'clock in the morning there.
Okay, Chazak
Okay.
Baruch. Thank you,
Good
Jerry.
night, everybody.
Bye-bye.